So, as Jake just brought up, some of the big news today is that Rian Johnson has talked about The Last Jedi once again, which, hey, he's the director. I'm sure, he's proud of it, as he has said, but most of us are not proud of it. So we're going to talk about Rian Johnson's latest comments here. And it's on Empire, and it says Rian Johnson is even more proud of Star Wars The Last Jedi 5 years on. And this is an exclusive from Empire. And he's basically just talking about it. And it says, in a major new Empire interview, Rian Johnson looks back on The Last Jedi for its 5th anniversary, reflecting with a few years distance on his episode of the Skywalker saga. I'm even more proud of it 5 years on. When I was up at bat, I really swung at the ball. The film, he says, is not just a Star Wars movie. It's a movie about Star Wars and what it means to be fans, himself included. That is not what Star Wars is about. That has nothing to do with Star Wars. The fact that you're trying to incorporate real life shit into it's telling George Lucas's story. That's what Star Wars is about. This is insane, but this should not surprise anyone. But since we have Jake here for the first time, I saw you tweeted about this, Jake. What are your thoughts on Rian Johnson's comments, and what do you think about The Last Jedi?
Oh God, I don't even know where to start. Like, I saw it on because IGN tweeted it. And looking back, like, I think all of us agree, Star Wars The Last Jedi left you with, what the hell did I just watch? Because it ruins so many moments, especially with Leia flying through the air like Superman. You have no idea how she's doing that. They have a huge, massive plot hole where they use the ship to jump into light speed to blow up the bigger ship. My biggest problem was the whole fact that inertia doesn't exist anymore. We're running out of gas in space. They're chasing us. Okay, they're gonna keep going.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's just, to me, it's a problem because it's Rian Johnson's like inability to look at what the audience is saying about his movie, and it's just him being so egotistical and just big headed that he's like, I'm still proud of it. It's still a great movie, but it's not. The people who pay to go watch it don't like it. So I think he's like spitting on people basically over saying how proud he is of it, even though everyone's saying it's a bad movie.
Yep, 100%.
I'm like reading it right now, and it's just like, it's like throw away the past and embracing. It's like, what the fuck? Like, what are you even talking about?
It's insane.
The part where he says, like, the part where he says it's also about being a Star Wars fan. That's the most ridiculous thing, because if you really want to take a look at what Rian Johnson did and like take a step back from it, like as a standalone movie, whatever, this is someone trying to get as far away from being a fan as possible. Yeah. It's like, what if everything was just terrible? What if this person that you looked up to as a hero was actually trash? What if all of this? That's more what Rian Johnson was trying to tell. It's a deconstruction of Star Wars, which you can't do as part 8 of a 9-part saga, right? That's
Luke's already been deconstructed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and this is classic Hollywood. They always like, how many deconstructions and finding himself stories is now Thor on? Within the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Was it like the 3rd time he's found himself, or the 5th, or whatever? Like, the fact that you think Luke Skywalker needs to be deconstructed is insane. Luke Skywalker has been on a journey, and not a meme that I always say, but the hero's journey. Like, he is the definition of the hero's journey. And that has already been explored. And he has faced some of the most difficult things anyone would face, and he proved himself time and time again. And the galaxy was a better place because of Luke Skywalker. And at that point in time, the fact that we're now trying to deconstruct Luke Skywalker at that point in his life because an arrogant Hollywood director thinks that that's what needs to be done is insane. And again, 5 years later, it's obvious that it destroyed the fandom. It destroyed Star Wars. And most of the projects that they wanted to move forward with have not moved forward because of that movie. That is the legacy of The Last Jedi. George, what do you think?
I think it's, once again, Rian is out probably to push some film, or it's the fact that he's just proved that at some point in his life he was actually a fluffer on a porn set. You know, I've never seen anybody suck their own dick this much. I mean, this guy goes around and literally to piss everybody off. And remember, he's the first director, at least in my lifetime, that I've ever heard. Remember when he gave that interview a few years ago and he stated, I wanted to divide the audience in half.
Yes.
Half of the people that hate it, and half of the people that love it. Who does that?
Yeah,
that right there tells you're not a fan of the franchise.
Yeah,
and
100%.
And it's hard to suck your own dick too when you're still got this like trilogy that's been promised that we have no update on in the past 5 years. Nothing moving forward with Rian Johnson's trilogy.
Speaking of that, he is quoted, I think, in that article saying, "It would break my heart if I were finished." Rian Johnson still wants to make a Star Wars trilogy. He says it would break my heart if I were finished.
Broken.
Maybe if he was a gay creator of color, then maybe they'd think about doing it. But I don't think. Well, I mean, he probably is gay, but I don't know if they're going to do it for a white man like Rian Johnson. I don't think they feel like.
I mean, he's famously said after he signed that the 3 film deal with Lucasfilm, he famously said he wanted less white dudes directing Star Wars. After the white dude signed on for 3 Star Wars movies, that's his quote. You can look that up. But I mean, look at this point, the Rian Johnson's trilogy was agreed upon and announced before The Last Jedi released.
Yep.
And 5 years later, nothing has happened. That should tell you everything you need to know about the legacy of The Last Jedi. You know, there's people online that say, oh, the people loved it. Lucasfilm loved it. Everything worked. It was perfect. It made $1.3 billion. It was a success. Nothing has moved forward. None of the projects that were there prior to The Last Jedi have moved forward post Last Jedi. That's the legacy of the movie. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, nothing's moved forward except for these ridiculous Disney Plus shows. I mean, what's Rian Johnson going to do? That I actually destroyed my own career and killed a franchise that people love? You think anybody's going to remember? If Rian Johnson didn't remind everybody about The Last Jedi, how many people would actually remember it today? I mean, truly.
Yeah.
I think he killed Luke Skywalker to be remembered as the director that killed Luke Skywalker. So I think like because his name, like we're talking about him right now, so it's like his name will always be forever linked for it will like negative or positive. It'll always be linked, with the destruction of Luke, and that just began, at least for me in my own eyes, this whole lazy writing thing from Hollywood where they just tear down characters that have already built up to boost up their own. And it's a constant, at least in Star Wars right now, it's a constant theme. They tore down Luke to build up Rey. They tore down Boba Fett to build up Mandalorian. And it just goes on and on. Like you could just pick and choose. So it just goes on and on with their series. They tore down Kenobi, to build up Reva. So it's like it's just
Hulk to build up She-Hulk.
Yeah. It's just a constant theme that goes on over there in this quick writing where they're just trying to like, look at our new characters. They're better than what you used to like. So let's just show you.
But that's what they have in writers' rooms. I mean, they're spending what I found out now about 6 weeks before a production goes in. They're not spending months anymore. They don't get to refine it and get to bring it back and forth and get to use people as sounding boards. They have these people who are activists in their writing. You're not talking about actually creative talent.
No,
you're not. I mean, and it's the reason. There's a reason Ripa can go out there and make $3.5 million off of the Ripaverse, because people are just looking for heroes to watch them go on a journey, not with any agenda or see them actively tear something down. And if you're going to create a new character, you need to create a reason for people to want to go see these characters or to have some investment in their story. And without Hollywood and storytellers in the comic industry just tearing things down constantly, the market isn't opened up for someone like Ripa. And now that the market has opened up, he's taken full advantage of it. And that's why. And people are just tired of seeing the same song and dance over and over and over again. Tired of it.
Yeah.
And
well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, there's also a very big answer. I think Disney gave kind of their own answer to what they actually thought of The Last Jedi in a movie called The Rise of Skywalker, where they tried to retcon half the fucking movie. And they were like, oh, no, we love The Last Jedi. We love what Rian Johnson did, but we're going to also bring back the director from the first movie and then try to completely retcon everything that he did in that movie because, I mean, and at the same time, Rian Johnson can talk all day like how he wants, but if you actually watch the movie, it spends like the first 2 acts talking about deconstructing things, and at the very end literally says, no, we're not deconstructing anything, it's all basically the same in the first place. He goes from calling them resistance to the rebels. He like calls Rey the Last Jedi. Like he's still like he didn't actually say anything. Rian Johnson's really fucking good at that. If you listen to his interview, he doesn't really say anything. He just uses words that he thinks like make him sound like a good fucking writer, but he's not. Like, you know, kudos to him for directing the best episode of Breaking Bad, but like, okay, congratulations. Like, you know,
but some people are meant for television. Some people are meant for television. Some are for movies.
Well, I still, and I know that gets referenced a lot, and I reference it a lot too. It comes down to that. Just shows you the leadership of Vince Gilligan. You know, I mean, Rian Johnson is a competent director. He's a competent filmmaker. If he has the right leadership overseeing him, and Vince Gilligan, who's clearly a man who cares about the universe he's created and cares about that craft, and so he had a vision, he oversaw it. Rian Johnson did a great job of, you know, carrying out what Vince Gilligan wanted, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, what's that movie he did with Joseph Gordon? Looper. Looper is not a great movie. It's definitely not a bad movie either. It's fine.
But did he write any of that?
No.
Like we're talking about directors and like people crafting the story, right? So.
Well, yeah, but that's my point. He, like I said, that's the point of me saying he's a competent director, though. You know, with someone else kind of overseeing it. So
he wrote Looper too. You know, but I mean, but he's not. I mean, you know, just like you can be a decent director and a decent fucking writer. I mean, the thing is, like, he took a pre-established story and then decided to put his own fucking spin on it. You know, if you write your own shit, you can write your own. You can write your own shit and put your own themes and payoffs into it. But that's the thing. He wanted to deconstruct Star Wars.
This is, but this is. Go ahead, George.
No, go Jay.
All right, this is Rian Johnson though. Can you share my screen? He's a freaking troll. This is the stuff that he deleted. It still might be out there, but he was posting this when like bigger people were complaining about The Last Jedi. Like he was tweeting people the middle finger. When Star Wars Theory was crying, he trolled Star Wars Theory about having tears after watching something on TV. Like he did all these things. Like he's just a constant like troll. And like he was like, oh, when I saw Luke drink that milk, I had tears flowing from my eyes. When all that Star Wars Theory, Pablo Hidalgo stuff was going on like a few years ago. And he's just he just constantly trolls people because he thinks it's funny. That's the issue with Rian Johnson. It's like you couldn't criticize his film because he does have his loyal. I mean, he's got people that think The Last Jedi is the greatest thing ever, you know, and so he just feeds into them all the time, you know, and, you know, for whatever it's worth. But he constantly trolls. He was trolling people hard after The Last Jedi for a good while.
I just think that you have some people who sometimes get they're one-hit wonders. Who was the director who did Chronicle? Do y'all remember that about those kids in high school? Josh Trank. But then he went on to do Fantastic Four.
Lost his fucking mind in that.
And it was obliterated. I mean, you have Johnson who did, was it Looper was his first one?
Yeah.
Okay. The same thing. I just think that there are sometimes some people have one book in them, one song in them, one movie in them, and that's it. I think he's just, you know, like a director you find out of a university. Someone who should go back to making the wedding videos.
Listen, Ryan.
That's the famous tweet right there. The man babies.
Yeah, what we talk about when we talk about man babies on social media, a few unhealthy people can cast a big shadow on the wall. But over the past 4 years, I've met a lot of real fellow Star Wars fans. We like and dislike stuff, but we do it with humor, love, and respect. We're the vast majority. We're having fun and doing just fine. That's fine. But then why are the fans always being painted as a toxic group of people if that the heavy majority of them are wonderful people? Why do we ever have to hear about the 2% out there that you say are toxic? That's not the narrative that Lucasfilm or companies, you know, push against fans. And that's why fans have had such a problem with it up to this point. Look, I clearly have no love lost for Zack Snyder, but, you know, the Snyder movies, you had a ton of criticism with Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. Zack Snyder never came out and said anything about it. You know what I mean? A ton of hate.
No,
and he never came out and said anything about
fans,
it.
at least,
about the fans. Yeah, he never said anything about the fan reaction. It was divisive as hell, but he never said anything about it. he just, they move forward. And why did Lucasfilm have to paint a narrative about fans? And this started with The Force Awakens when they started to say that racist people were going after John Boyega, which there was no evidence to support that anybody with any credibility was saying anything about John Boyega. The only thing that we saw was that people were confused because a black stormtrooper kind of went against everything that a lot of people believed in terms of what stormtroopers were, the clones.
It was people that were really fucking stupid. It was people that were ignorant.
But that's the majority of people that are going to watch a movie is the general audience that don't know the deep inner workings of the lore. So they took, the general audience being confused, and then they go, oh, they're racist. It's like, no, they're just not smart enough. They're not intelligent enough to understand how the inner workings of Star Wars goes. That doesn't mean they're racist. And then they found like 1 or 2 comments from a person with like 3 followers that said something racist, like, look at the racist Star Wars fandom. You're like, good Lord. Man,
in the same way that people are talking about House of the Dragon, where you have Corlys Valerian, it's obviously been race swapped. It's not because all of a sudden there's a black person in Game of Thrones. Spoiler alert for that actor. There's been rich black people in Game of Thrones before. I don't know if you actually watched the first 8 seasons of Game of Thrones. There's been rich black people and no one cared.